coming to this new thing, new to us, not so new across the state. A lot of schools are starting to do this, and to be honest, I wanted to do it last year, and when I got to July and got to thinking about it, I thought, man, these people have been through a lot this summer. They don't need to come sit and listen to me for who knows how long. So we waited and held off for a year, but definitely time to do it. Hopefully you get something out of this. It's hopefully going to be very informative. We're going to go over, some of our, if you don't ever read the handbook, some of our rules and policies, some other stuff that could pertain to your kid if they're going to go to college and play, just all kinds of athletic-based stuff. So I do appreciate you coming, and fortunately for you guys, since you came and signed in, you're not going to be required to watch the video of this before your kid gets to play. So there is some perks to being here in person. And with that being said, the first thing we're going to do tonight, we're actually going to start off with a little fun. We're going to give some things away. That's what the tickets are for. We're going to do 4 of these throughout the night. I am going to, and please read the screen as I go, because I will not read word for word. I'm going to try to paraphrase and talk on my own as much as I can so I don't get too boring and that we fly through this. Hopefully this takes an hour or less. I will say when I started working on this last week, I had like 60 slides. And by this afternoon, I'd cut it down to where my slides are actually less than 30 now. It's around 40 because of Elise and the Booster Club, but I cut mine in half, so be thankful for that. But first thing we're going to do, we'll get some things away. The first thing we're going to give away, license plate, a lanyard, and a PH sticker. Stephen, draw me a number.
All right. 708269.
Who's our winner? Come up and get your prize. And second thing we're going to give away is a t-shirt and a Parke Heritage baseball hat. Go ahead, Stephen.
708256.
And then the reason that we had some technical difficulties, because I thought I'd keep this third one a surprise, I widened it out. I had it on here and I didn't want everybody to look at it. We're going to give 4 of these out tonight, so if you don't win this one, you've got 3 more chances. The last thing we're going to give out is a free family sports pass. All right? Get me a number, Stephen?
All right. 708297.
708297. I guess somebody needs to become very good friends with Coach Clendon. And the deal with these, you will bring these to my office and just redeem them. If you've already bought a pass, then I will reimburse you for your pass. So you will still win, okay? Okay, moving on. Here we are, year 2. Last year, obviously, crazy, fun, exciting. But year 1 in the books. Nobody knew how it was going to go. I think it went quite well. But with that being said, now it's time to move forward. Now it's time to, the nostalgia part's kind of going away or will go away. It's time to be a regular school and hopefully start really competing and be successful in everything we do. But I think everything, the newness of facilities and where to go, where to park, all that kind of stuff. I just think it's going to be a lot better this year. Just to go over a few athletic highlights from last year, boys tennis obviously was the big banner winner. They won the first sectional championship in the school's history last fall. They finished second place in the WRC with a 4-1 record and a really good match out here with Fountain Central, or we could have won the conference as well. The volleyball team won the Banks. They were also second in the WRC at 6-1. Played Covington really tough. Unfortunately, we had to play them like 3 times last year. They were very good. Everybody knows the football team, what a turnaround we've had from the 2 schools to what we were last year. Second place in the WRC, played, it was a 1 touchdown game with a team that played the state championship game when we played North Vermillion here. We were right there. Great turnaround for the football program. Boys golf finished second in the WRC in the tournament, and they competed in the regional. And then for all sports throughout the whole year, the 3 different seasons, we had 23 WRC all-conference athletes. That's pretty good for a school of about 330 kids. So, but next year our goal is, that we want this to be doubled or tripled next year, and I think we have a great chance for that. I really do. Sports passes, Terry had them out there. This is the price breakdown. Change colors this year. Obviously, we'll change colors every year. A red pass, if you get a red pass, that will be good for everything. Here, school, both places. And that, you can get a family pass, an adult pass, a senior pass. Student passes are basically all the same. If you get a student pass, you're good anywhere you go. Okay? So if you're just buying a student pass. Blue passes are just for high school events only. That wouldn't get you in the middle school. And then a white pass, which we don't sell very many of those. They sell those up at the middle school. Those are good for middle school events only. So nothing really changed. The price didn't change, just the colors changed. That's really the only thing that changed. Athletic philosophy. I go over this with our coaches when we have our coaches meeting every year prior to the school year starting. The big thing to understand, and not just here, it's everywhere, high school sports is a privilege and not a right. Nobody has a right to play. And to be honest, nobody has a right to coach or anything. Everything's a privilege in high school sports. So everybody should understand that and understand that they represent us at all times. When we put the jersey on, or when we put a pullover on that's got a PH on it or whatever, we're going out in the public, and that's, you never know. It could be that person's one time of getting to see Parke Heritage, and that's going to be their experience with Parke Heritage. We want to always be highly competitive, and that's obviously our goal. We want to win. I think everybody knows me. I want to win as bad as anybody. But at the same time, we're not going to win at all costs. We're going to do things the right way. We're going to follow the rules. We're going to represent our school and community the best we can, and things like that. And then the best thing about athletics is, especially in high school, athletics is a great character builder and depictor. It reveals a lot about one's self in the good times and in the bad times. And and everybody takes high school sports really seriously, and so do I. But sometimes even at home, I've got to get reminded by my wife, hey, this is high school athletics. You're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be okay. And we get bent out of shape sometimes when we don't do well. But a lot of high school sports is about picking yourself back up that next day and being able to handle success. I think we've got some teams this year that have a chance to have great seasons. That goes along with it. How do you handle that? Can you handle that? And things like that. So that's basically our philosophy in terms of, if I had to put a mission statement down of our athletic department. The last big thing for me, and we have great participation this way. We don't have a lot of kids that just do one thing. But for a school our size to be good in a lot of things, we've got to have our best athletes playing a lot of things, and we do a good job of that. I always say, obviously I'm the basketball coach. I don't care if all 20-some of my guys play a fall sport. I mean, they need to be doing something, because for a bunch of reasons. One, they're not laying around going home like my kids and eating chips and cereal right after school. It's amazing how hungry they can get after a day of school. But other reasons being, even if that's not their number one sport, they're listening to another coach. They're listening to another voice. How fun would it be to be in class all day, here for 7 periods and have the same teacher all 7 periods? You get different experiences and you get different things, and that's why we really try to preach multi-sport athletes, and for us to be good, we've got to have that, and some of them may not be the best at that sport, but they're just good enough athletes that makes a huge difference. So that's basically our philosophy. We're going to go over some handbook highlights, and really we're only just going to go over the things that changed. It's really up to you guys to read through the student athlete handbook and make sure you understand the rules and guidelines. Obviously, I'm not going to bore you with that. Those are available online. We do not print those out on paper, so you can get on our school website and find both the student handbook and the athletic handbook. They're all basically one thing. But changes for this year. We've added dance as an official sport. We've added a new policy. What happened to that? I didn't touch anything, I promise. We've added a new policy with our drug and alcohol and tobacco, athletic training code violations in terms of self-reporting, and our letter jacket policy really didn't change, but our points changed in terms of what they mean. The dance team, they are now officially a sport here, which means that they get to earn a letter, just like a football player, just like a cheerleader, just like a girls tennis player, just like a cross-country runner. The big thing is if your kid's a dancer, it's just like a varsity sport. They've got to be there, they've got to compete in at least 50% of the contest. If they don't, then they're not going to get a letter, they'll just get their 2 points for participating. The big one is the self-reporting clause, and I wish this was up on the screen because this is really small print on my computer. I'm going to try to kind of synopsis this without reading through it. Basically, our handbook states in terms of athletic code violations, if a kid's at a party, whether they're drinking or not, or whether they're smoking or not, whatever, they're guilty. You can agree, disagree with that. I didn't write that, but that is our policy. What we have added is basically a policy stating that, there are times, I understand, there are times where kids go places and they don't know where they're going, or they don't know what's there when they get there. And, so there needed to be something in our rules that stated that, because we do not, we have good kids, and we have responsible kids. I'm not saying all of them are great kids and responsible, but not all of them are bad and not responsible. But we needed something to be in there for the responsible kid that maybe made a mistake, but can own up to it. And, again, high school and high school sports is a lot about, building character and developing, being able to fight for things for yourself and everything like that. So basically what this policy is, on a kid's first athletic code violation, only the first one, not second or third, but if they're in a first athletic code violation situation, they have the ability to report it to me before I find out. And if they report it to me before I find out, then they're going to get their suspension cut in half. So the way our penalty is, if you get in trouble, your first offense is 25%. If the kid comes to me, I'm going to knock it down to 12%. And hopefully we don't have to deal with that, but I think this is fair. I looked at a lot of other schools' policies and kind of took what I thought was the best from each one. And you can read through the whole rule in the handbook. It basically states you've got, I think it says 48 hours, or the next business day. So, if something happens on a Thursday night, which hopefully nothing's happening on a Thursday night, but if something happens on a Thursday night, they need to come to us before Friday at the end of the school day, which the end of the school day or the close of the business day on Friday is 4 o'clock. And then if something happens on the weekend, they've basically got until Monday at 4 o'clock. Something happens over a break, then they need to get to us in a timely fashion. They don't need to wait for a week and a half and hope and pray that we don't find out. If they come to us, we're going to be willing to work with them, and hopefully this is a good rule. And like I said, we don't have very many of these, but hopefully this helps our kids out that do falter. Zach. Next, letter jackets. Letter jackets. We've obviously changed that from the old days. Our rule is now, once you earn a varsity letter here, you are able to buy a letter jacket through the school. All right, so the point system really for letter jackets really doesn't mean anything anymore. If you letter, you have the ability to buy your jacket. Now, having said that, if you don't want to buy your jacket and you want to wait it out, and wait until you get to the 18-point marker, then we're going to buy your jacket for you. But as we've seen from last year, most everybody wants their jacket. So really the points, so you get 5 points for a varsity letter, any sport. You get 2 points if you play below the varsity level. Where the points come in now, okay, that's fine. Someone's going to ask. Great job. The way the points are now, the points basically come into play for athletic blankets. And athletic blankets are for seniors. So when they get in high school, or when your kid gets into high school, their points start adding up. So every time they letter, they get 5. If they play JV and only get participation, they get 2. But those all add up. And once they get to be a senior, if they get to 50, they get an athletic blanket. So that's where the points really come in. If you've got questions on that, you can ask me, but it's pretty cut and dry. It's achievable, but it's not easy. And that's what I like about that. It really encourages multi-sport participation. Next thing, social media. This is a big one. We live in this world nowadays, and you guys as parents, you've got to make sure that you monitor what is going on with your child's social media. We have no problem with kids using social media. We have no problem with kids voicing, their right to speak and things like that. But at the same time, they're a student athlete for us, and they represent us. And the bad thing about social media is once you blast it out there, you can't take it back. Somebody's screenshotting it, somebody's got it, and they're going to save it, or they're going to send it out. So, that's basically our policy on social media is just make sure that you keep it clean, make sure that you are representing our school and our community and yourself and your family in a positive light and things like that. Guess what? Time for another giveaway. Steven, give me another number.
Last year was 239.
239. License plate, sticker, and lanyard. Who's 239? Ronnie White. The big prize. All right, Steven, next one.
307.
307. Hat and a shirt. Hat and a shirt. And then the big one, Steven.
Alright. 279.
279. 279. process a little bit. You know, one of the big things to be eligible to play athletics, doesn't matter what school, you got to have a physical on file. We call it a PAC card. Some people just call it a physical. I call it a PAC card because there is more that comes with having the physical. You know, just having your physical doesn't make you eligible to play. It helps, but for a kid to be eligible to play, they've got to have one of these. And the only way they get these is if they turn in their physical to us. Physicals always have to be after April 1st. So if your kid has a physical right now that was prior to April 1st of 2019, it is not good for this school year. If it's after April 1st of 2019, it is good for this entire school year. And then next year, as long as they get one after April 1st, it will be good for the following year. But the other things that go along with the PAC card, we have a concussion, and this is actually the IHSA that does this, and we take the paper from them. We have a concussion and sudden cardiac arrest release form. You know, that's not real fun stuff to talk about, but it's out there nowadays. You know, concussions are getting more and more prevalent, and you know, it seems like every month you read in the paper about some athlete that had a heart issue and collapsed either on the court or on the field. So we ask for that release form, and then an emergency contact page, which those are important because we give those to our coaches, and if you can't be at the game, they've got to be able to contact somebody. And I know we live in a small community and everybody knows everybody, but in the heat of the moment, they've got to be able to get a hold. You know, if you're not at your kid's game, we've got to be able to get a hold of you if there's a serious issue. So for your kid to get a PAC card, you know, they can't just come in and turn their physical in. They've got to have all of this with it. And once they have all of that with it, they get their PAC card, they're good to go. All of their coaches know on the first day of practice, that's what they're supposed to ask for. They see the PAC card, they know they're good to go. If they don't see it, they're probably not good to go. And if they don't have it, they're not supposed to be able to practice. That is a liability issue with us. We cannot allow a kid that doesn't have all of that to practice because if something happens, that's an issue for us and everyone else. So that's kind of explaining how the PAC cards work. Having said all that, I'm going to turn this over to our athletic trainer, Elise, and let her talk for just a few minutes.
I only have like 5 slides, so mine's really short. This is the area of communication. So, injury reporting. If I need to know about it as soon as possible, okay, that's what I'm here for. Your child's health and safety, the only reason I'm here. And I do my utmost best to help out as best I can. So, also, there could be other athletic trainers from Union. They know how to contact me, or you can contact me direct. But this will make getting your child taken care of either here at the school or a doctor if need be a lot easier. Okay. Next, concussions. This is huge. Like Mr. Shelsky said, concussions are becoming more prevalent all the time. We're finding concussions come from all kinds of reasons. So what we want you to do is get a hold of me. I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care if it's a Sunday. Call me. Text me. Please. I come back to school quite a bit. I will meet you. You come. Half the world knows where I live. Come by. Because if you are treated by a physician who is truly trained in the management of concussions, and that's the state law. We have state law on concussions. It's trained in the management of concussions. But if we can get somebody who does concussions all the time, your benefit and your child's benefit is huge. They'll probably not miss as much. We're going to get straightforward care. We're going to, they just know what they're doing. Okay, and I can't stress this enough. So we really, really need to know about these, especially. So then, and doctor's notes. If you take your child to a healthcare provider, whether at Union or some other facility, then they have to be cleared by that provider. Okay, and I have to have it on my files before they're allowed to go back to play. Because we got to be able to know, keep the paper trail right, and that we know it's there again, it's like the physicals. It's a liability for us. And it also just, that way, communication's right, we know what's going on, and there's no questions. Sudden cardiac arrest. This is the second law the state of Indiana has for sports medicine. If we suspect any kind of sudden cardiac arrest, cardiac symptoms, chest pain, they will be removed from play immediately. We will notify you, and then they need to be seen by a healthcare provider that will clear them before they can come back to play. Just like any other injury. But there again, we just need them checked out by a doctor to know what's going on. And last but not least, there is my cell phone number. Everybody has it. Most of you have it. Most of you give it to your friends. That's fine. I'm good with it. Please, if you don't have it, take it. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to call me, text me, stop me. Whenever you see me, that's fine. And that way we can always take care of your son or daughter to the best of our ability.
Thanks, Liz. And to kind of piggyback on that, that stuff is so important now. Even our coaches have to take 3 classes by IHSA rule to be eligible to coach. You have to take a class, an online class on concussions. You have to take an online class on sudden cardiac arrest. You have to take an online class about heat illness. That's how important this stuff is these days. So it's not anything to mess around with. And, you know, obviously we want to be ahead of the game and not behind. Moving on, eligibility and academics. We follow the IHSA rules on eligibility. Some schools do different things. I think that gets confusing. We follow the IHSA rule. This table is the IHSA rule. The numbers in red, they're in red because that's us. That is how our day is structured. We do not have a 4-period day. We have a 7-period day. The reason 8 and 9 are highlighted or red is because our kids also have the ability to take online classes. So, with that being said, the way you read this table, just to make sure, and this will never change, this has been the IHSA rule for years and years and years. We have a 7-period day. The minimum number of classes your child has to take, just take, to be eligible is 5. So if they're enrolled in less than 5 classes, 5 credits, they're not eligible. Okay? And then going down the chart, so the minimum number of classes they must take, since we're a 7-period day, is 5. The minimum number of classes they must pass is also 5, meaning they have to get 5 credits to be eligible to play. Okay? You go up that ladder, so if you've got a kid that takes an online class, if you've got a kid that takes all 7 periods and has a credit for each of those, and also is doing something online, guess what? Now that goes up to 6 and 6. This number doesn't really matter. This is the number that we've run into a couple times since I've been here. It's confusing to a lot of people. Everybody, I think, knows the 7 and 5. If you take 8, that automatically bumps your number of grades that you have to pass to 6. And, you know, again, if they were to take 9, which I don't think we have anybody that would ever take 9, they would have to pass 7. We do grade checks. So the way grades are handled, you know, we're on 9-week grading periods, 2 semesters. So right now, the kids that are playing or getting ready to play in the fall, the grades they got from last semester, not last 9 weeks, not the last 9 weeks from March to May, last semester's grades, so semester grades always take precedent. So when I check everybody's grades, like the volleyball team's done a great job of giving me their roster already. I've checked all the girls' grades, they're all good to go. I check semester grades because it's a fall sport. If you play a winter sport, the grades we will check are the first 9-week grades. So if you don't qualify in the first 9 weeks, according to that chart, you're ineligible until Christmas. And then when Christmas hits, we check semester grades. And then when the springtime hits, we check grades right at spring break time or right around spring break time, those 9 weeks. And then again, once the semester's over at the end of the summer, and hopefully we have some teams playing that late, they have to be eligible by semester grades. So that is how grades and eligibility work. And that would be if you've got a kid that's a freshman, sophomore, it doesn't matter. That will how it will always be. So just to make sure everybody understands that. Attendance, this is a big one. All student athletes must be here by 11:30 to participate in his or her athletic event or practice. All right, we have this happen every now and then. Now, that doesn't include, if you're going on a field trip, you're at a funeral, you've got a doctor's appointment, an excuse like that doesn't count. But if you sleep in and have your parent call in and say, hey, Johnny's not going to be here this morning, and then Johnny shows up at 12 o'clock, Johnny doesn't play that night. Sorry, Johnny, I'm not picking on you. I just always use Johnny. I'll go Timmy next time. But not only do they not play, even if they don't have a game that night, they don't get a practice. And if you want to get under a coach's skin quicker than anything, don't come to school on time and don't be allowed to practice like the night before a game. That's one of the quickest ways to get under a coach's skin. So, make sure everybody understands that. 11:30 is the magical number or time in terms of when you have to be in school to be eligible to participate that evening. This is kind of self-explanatory. Hopefully your kid doesn't, but if they get in trouble at school and get any kind of suspension, then they are out of athletics until that suspension is served. That includes in-school suspension. So if your kid, I try not to suspend kids out of school as much as I can. Sometimes there's no choice. But I do a lot of in-school suspension. And if you get an in-school suspension, you can't practice that night. You can't play in your game that night. So that's why it's always important, to talk to your kids about, not getting in trouble at school or, making sure they're doing the right things. And then, this rule, we don't usually have this come up, but, if there's some kind of issue in the classroom where a teacher were to suspend a student out of their class, Mr. Ashley and I would obviously take that under our guidance and try to deliberate and figure out what happened and things like that. It just basically says we basically have the final call on that. But that is our attendance policy in a nutshell. Banquets, you can write these down, whatever. These, unless something crazy happens, these are the 3 banquets we will have this year. Fall sports banquet will be November the 7th. The winter sports banquet will be March the 12th. And the spring sports banquet will be June the 4th. All right here in this room, all at 7 o'clock. So 3 sports banquets are those 3 dates. Next thing, and might be the most interesting thing probably for everybody all night. And, we have a lot of kids that go on to play college. We haven't had very many Division 1 or 2 kids, but I think we've got a chance to have some here in the future. And it's good to understand how that works. And I'm not going to go into all the detail, all right? But there are certain things, if your kid wants to play at that level, even as a walk-on, I'm not talking about being Romeo Langford and getting recruited by everybody in the country and getting a full ride scholarship to go play at IU. Even if you're just, even if you're, let's say a pretty good golfer and you've got a chance to go walk on to play girls golf at Indiana State, you have to be in accordance with the NCAA rules or you're not eligible to play as a freshman. And that's very important. So if you have a son or a daughter that is their goal, then you guys need to, the second part here, there's two places you can read about this. There's a NCAA publication entitled Guide for the College-Bound Athlete. It's found on their website. You can go on their website and read about this stuff as well. That's the best thing in terms of understanding how all this works. Because at the end of the day, even if your kid's a freshman, they've got their clock's ticking right now. They've got to make sure that they're enrolled in the proper classes. There's a stipulation on core classes. They have to be in every year they have to be in the 4 core classes. They have to have a certain GPA by the time they graduate, or they are not college eligible. But really, that number doesn't matter, because if their GPA isn't very good as a sophomore, or a junior, or a freshman, when they start to get recruited, that coach you're done. They won't recruit you anymore. That's the beauty of college athletics and the beauty of college coaching. It's a big country, big world. And one of the first things when they call, I had a coach email me yesterday about a basketball player of ours. First 2 questions he asked: can you send me his GPA and transcript, and what type of kid is he? They didn't want to talk about what kind of player he was. That's the first question they asked. Why? Because if that doesn't add up, they're done. So that's why it's important, if you have a child that's a goal of yours, please read up on this. Mrs. McMullen is well versed in this. They need to make sure that they're on the same page with her, and they need to make sure she knows that is their goal. To make sure that your kid is getting in the right classes. Because there'd be nothing worse than wanting to go play college sports, especially at a higher level, and learn that when you're a senior, I can't play as a freshman, I don't have enough core classes. So, to me, this is important stuff. If you have a kid that's got any interest in that, it's really worth taking a look at. It's not going to take very long to read. The book, the publication that's on their website is really easy to read and goes step by step through it. So, I think that's important stuff. Team parent meeting. Obviously you guys all have to sit through this, but I also make all of our teams, so that's my fault, so you can blame me when you've got to go to another meeting. I make all of our teams have a parent meeting prior to them playing a game. Whereas in girls golf, we can't really do that because they play like a day after they start practice. But my thing is, I want our coaches to make sure that everybody understands, what their rules are, practice schedules, bus times, what their philosophy is, anything and everything they can give you. That is their chance to kind of talk to you guys and explain what their program is about. So when you get mad at going to a parent meeting after this one, you can blame me. Roster trimming or cutting. We haven't had to do a whole lot of this yet, but I'm telling you right now it's coming. And we basically have, and again, this is something I go over with all of our coaches. So we have a uniform way of doing it. One sport's not going to do it one way, and another sport's going to do it another way. Everybody's going to be fair in this. And obviously, it's up to the coaches to cut. I mean, at the end of the day, every program's only got so many uniforms. So once you get to that number, that's probably when you're in trouble. But when you get up there big numbers in certain programs, it's hard to play everybody. It's hard to keep everybody happy. It's hard to find, time and space and practice and everything like that. So if for some reason a program of ours has to cut, everybody's going to be given 2 to 3 days of tryout. Nobody's going to get cut on the first day. So everybody's going to get their fair shake, and then if you do get cut, then as a player and athlete, they get the right to talk to the coach and ask the coach, what do I need to do if I want to come out next year? What do I need to do to get better? the thing about cutting, if your kid does get cut in a sport, you can go to another sport, as long as that sport welcomes you and wants to take you. If you quit a team, that becomes a lot more dicey. If you quit a team right now, so if you're a fall athlete and you decide you want to quit a sport and want to go do something else, now you're going to get the coach of the sport you're quitting involved, you're going to get the coach of the sport that you're going to involved, and you're going to get me and Mr. Ashley involved. And we all have to be in agreement of that. So that's the difference between cutting and quitting. If your kid gets, hopefully not, but if they get cut for some reason, they are more than welcome to try out for another team. But if they quit, then everybody's going to have to be on the same page, and everybody's going to have to be in agreement that that was the best thing for that kid, or they're probably just out of luck. And then the big thing that everybody needs to understand, all athletes need to understand, again, this goes back to our philosophy about athletics being a privilege and not a right. Anyone can be removed from a team at any time. That's totally, now, having said that, if the coach decides that's what they want to do, the coach is probably going to meet with me a long time and we're going to talk about it and make sure that's the right thing. But at the end of the day, that's totally a coach's decision. So, if a coach wants to remove a kid and they have, just cause to do so, please understand they have the ability to do that. Again, not a right, but a privilege to play. Transportation. All athletic trips must be made by school vehicle. There is no private transportation permitted unless approved by Mr. Ashley, myself, or the school board. And if it is permitted, obviously there's some note signing, there's some release stuff that goes into that. We try to stay away from that at all costs. If you ever drive by here, we have tons of minibuses. We have a hard time getting bus drivers right now to drive teams, but we have tons of minibuses, so we can pretty much get everybody on a bus that needs to go somewhere. And then, technically everybody should return to the school afterwards on the bus or whatever school vehicle they took. Having said that, though, every coach is different on that, and that is totally up to the coach. And given our situation in our school district, I'm okay with it. Preferably, as a coach, I want all my guys riding the bus home. I think you win together, I think you lose together, I think bus rides home, whether they be in joy or agony, are sometimes really important for the team. But we also have some kids that live 30 minutes from here. And if we get beat at North Vermillion, they could be 3 minutes from their house compared to 30 minutes from the school. So if I've got a kid like that, then I've got to use common sense and I've got to say, hey, okay, if they want to go home with their parent. If you do that, though, please understand, I know it's a pain in the butt, but coaches have to have that either in writing or text message, something that we have physically. Just word of mouth is not good. That's not good. We need, either a sign-out sheet, a note, a text message, something. And again, that's each coach's policy. Every coach is different on that. But that is our transportation policy. Time to give away some more stuff, Steven. License plate and lanyard.
264.
264. T-shirt and hat, Steven.
219.
219. What size shirt, Dan? Small? And the big one, Steven?
270.
270. Winner. One more chance left tonight. Your number might be the lucky one. on. Now I'm going to ask Jennifer Simpson to come up, and she is going to talk a little bit about the Parke Heritage Booster Club, kind of give you a background on what they do, and then something very important that is coming up.
I know a lot of you, I talk at the banquets and things and let you know just about what the Booster Club is, and I know most of you know what it's about. Just an overview. We're about providing fundraiser opportunities for teams and clubs in the North Central Park school system. So it's not just high school that we support middle school, we even support the elementaries. Another thing we're about is helping fund big projects for teams and clubs in the system. So people can ask for donations, and if approved, we'll give you money. Just a quick overview of last year. We gave over $23,000 to teams and clubs in concession fundraising. We gave $13,917 in donations for various needs, including letters, numbers, and chevrons, which Booster Club does provide those. And win your child letters for their letter jacket. We buy the letters, we buy the chevrons, we buy the numbers for their sleeves. Other things we gave to were scholarships for 2 seniors, high school academic awards. We gave to the football locker room, football helmets, and there was actually a lot more we did. I just couldn't remember at the time. And then we gave over $3,100 for the athletic and academic banquets that was providing dinner for everyone. And yes, we shortchanged people at the spring banquet, but sorry. We'll do better next year. Just to let you know how the fundraising works, teams and clubs can sign up toward concessions for different sporting events. The teams and clubs receive 35% of the night's profits. And the money earned is put directly into the team's or club's ECA account, and they can do whatever they want with it. How donations work is the head coach or sponsor of an organization that need help with funding, they have to fill out a donation form. And then the board will look over the application and take a vote on whether to help fund or not. One stipulation we have about donations is that we do not fund anything that goes home with the kids. We don't want to do t-shirts. We're not really into doing warm-ups and all that. But our funding is based on the usefulness for the entire team and club, and that can stay with them. On Monday, we are really looking for more people to help us out. There's like 4 or 5 of us that do quite a bit. We're tired. It's a lot. If we have more people, it wouldn't be so much. And the current board's actually going to step down from all their positions. And the next meeting is Monday, and that's also the elections. So if you want to come and learn more about what we do and want to be a part, we'd really appreciate the help. I do plan on staying and helping be like a liaison to help people, because it's not fun starting from the ground up. We did that, and we got the hard stuff out of the way. So now it's just maintenance. It's good. So that's all I have. I hope to see you Monday. It's at the media center here at 6 o'clock.
You know, a couple things to say about the Booster Club. One, it's one of the most unsung things around here. If you did the quick math there, that was like $40,000 that they gave to people last year. And they put a lot of work into doing some things like getting concession stands ready and stocking them and things like that, organizing the concession stands. And they really do need more help. There needs to be more than 3 or 4 people. And, you know, hopefully, eventually we get this thing to where everybody wants to be a part of it. I know not everybody can give their time, but I think they'd even take just a little bit of time from people just to take some of it off their plate. And then the one thing I'll say about, you know, the fundraising with the concessions, it's like I tell all of our coaches, that is the easiest fundraiser to ever do. You know, you do one game, you're there for 2 or 3 or 4 hours tops, and you're making 35% of whatever's taken in that night. And I mean, it's just, there's not an easier fundraiser. Everybody hates fundraisers, I hate fundraisers. There's just not an easier way to do that than that. So when we get the sign-up sheet going out, which will be going out probably here pretty soon, right? You know, prod your coaches if you have to. Hey, we want to do this. You know, that's money for your kids' program that, you know, like Jen said, can be used for whatever they want. So, you know, I can't emphasize that enough. Moving on, we're about done, gang. And kind of going to some of the nitty-gritty stuff, and maybe not the not-so-fun stuff to talk about. I'm going to talk about, you know, parent, coach, and athlete communication and relationships and things like that. You know, obviously we all know that parenting is a tough task, so is coaching. You know, arguably 2 of the toughest jobs that you could ever do. Obviously one's probably way more important than the other, but at the same time, I think coaching's pretty important because during the winter, I guarantee you we got guys that are around me probably more than they are their parents. So as a coach, you can leave a pretty lasting impact on a kid and have an effect on that kid because of the time you spent. So basically what this is saying is, you know, and our coaches know this, you know, as a parent, we understand, you know, your kid's important, and you do have a right to understand the expectations that are placed on your child. And that, you know, that's up to the coach. That's up to the coach when he or she has their parent meeting. They need to tell you all that. If they don't, they're not doing their job. And if they're not doing that job, that's when I have to step in and unfortunately do the not so nice parts of my job. But to go forward, you know, in terms of communication that you should expect from your coach, obviously the philosophy of the coach, or the philosophy of what that coach's program, what he or she wants it to look like, who all the members of the coaching staff are, specifically the ones working with your child, expectations the coach has for your child and other team members, location and times of practices, contests, and team functions. It's always a big one. Team requirements. You know, some teams, you know, unfortunately there are some sports you play that you don't just get to show up and it's free. You've got other stuff that you have to play. So that, you know, that they owe you the right to know all of that. Procedures to be followed should your child be injured during practice or contest. And, you know, obviously discipline procedures that may result in the denial of your child's participation. In other words, going over team rules and understanding what those team rules are and what is right and what is wrong. Communication that coaches should expect from parents. Concerns expressed directly to the coach. Notification of any schedule conflicts way in advance. And those are going to happen. You know, there's always going to be something, you know, you have something planned way in advance and oh man, I didn't realize we have that. Most coaches are pretty good about that. You just got to let them know in advance. Don't slap that on them the week before. You know, I would not want to know, okay, I wouldn't want to know Timmy this time, Johnny, not Johnny, Timmy. I wouldn't want to know Timmy on Friday night is not going to be there the next Friday night. That's a pretty hard pill to swallow. So, you know, make sure you get that stuff in advance to the coaches. Specific concerns in regards to a coach's philosophy and or expectations. Specific medical problems that could adversely impact your child's performance and or safety. You know, as your kid becomes involved in high school sports, it's going to be some of the greatest times of their life, and it's going to be some of the most agonizing. There's, you know, we've all seen it. There's nothing worse, and I haven't been there yet, but I've watched it enough. I know one of my days coming one of these days when you watch your kid play their last game. You know, that last night, whether that's in the sectional, regional, there's nothing worse than that. And there's nothing greater than watching your kid succeed at a high level. So, basically what this is saying, that we all know that, and it's vital to recognize and understand there will be times when things do not go the way you or your child wish. That's, not everything's peaches and cream and roses and sunshine all the time. At times such as these, discussion with your child's coach is encouraged. Never would I discourage talking with, kid to coach or parent to coach. Appropriate concerns to discuss with coaches. The treatment of your child mentally and or physically. Ways to help your child improve. Concerns about the behavior of your child. Or, any kind of outside influence that could have an impact on your kid and, their how they're playing, or there could be something going on, as we don't, as coaches, we don't know everything that's going on in everybody's lives. There could be something major going on at home that could have a total adverse effect on your kid. It's great to let coaches know that. But the big one, and I get it, but everybody has, the biggest issue always comes, it's always hard when your kid doesn't get a play. And, I get that, but at the same time, and this is what I always say at my parent meetings, I've never seen a coach that's not trying to win. Never. And, do I screw up as a coach sometimes? Absolutely. I'll go home some nights and think I'm the dumbest guy in the world and watch film till 3 o'clock in the morning, really for no reason other than I'm mad at myself. But believe me, I've never seen a coach that's trying to lose. So, with that being said, coaches they're trying, there's a couple of things into play. When it comes to playing time, you've got how hard is the kid working in practice? What's their attitude like in practice? How do they get along with their teammates? Are they good teammates? Do their other teammates like them and want them to be a part of them? Have they been there? Are they a kid that misses a lot? If they're a kid that misses a lot, they're probably not real reliable. So, all of those things go in, and at the end of the day, is Timmy, 5 foot and 120-pound linebacker that may be one of our best linebackers, but the team we're playing's got a fullback that's 6'4" and 275. We're probably not plugging Timmy in the middle Friday night. We're probably going to try to do something else. So, there's all kinds of things that come into play for that. I'm not going to get in, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but please understand that as parents. And then please understand these things. When it comes to parents and talking with coaches, there are definitely things that really aren't appropriate to discuss because, again, the coach is hired to coach, parents are to parent, and parents aren't in practice. So parents don't see the Monday through Thursday of what goes on. If you play football or basketball, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of a volleyball player's practice. Playing time, team strategy. Everybody's team, sometimes team strategy changes from game to game, sometimes half to half. Play calling, lineups, substitutions, and especially other members of the team. Chances are, if you've got an issue with somebody else that's on the team, the coach probably already has got that figured out. Pretty sure, they may not say it, but pretty sure that that's going to be the case. And then, in terms of when you do contact your coach, keep these things in mind. These are the absolute worst, and really, from our athletic department standpoint, the times that are no-nos prior to and during any practice. Nothing worse than getting ready for practice and getting that put on your plate 5 minutes before you go into practice. When, everybody's human. Somebody does that to me, that's going to be a bad practice day. I know it is. Prior to and during any contest, again, keep it, it's all, about the kids and their success. And then the big one, immediately following any contest. There's no more volatile time than right after a game, especially after a tough loss. I can speak from that from experience. It's always best, and again, I want coaches and parents to communicate with coaches, but I want to make sure that we're fair to our coaches. So please, if you've got to talk to your coach about something, give it a day. All right, most people can decompress in a day, and if you give it a day, everything's going to be better. Because if you're really upset at the coach might, maybe they realize they did, they come to that conclusion 24 hours later. 5 minutes after the game, they're probably not going to be thinking like that. Obviously when we talk parent, coach, and athlete communication, everything needs to be honest and respectful. Nobody's out to get anybody, whether anybody believes that or not. And then to me, the big thing, and again, this goes back to what high school sports are all about, and what kids, as becoming young adults, need to take care of themselves a little bit. But if we've got an issue, this is what I want to see. If we have an issue between, a kid that's not happy on a team and a coach, that chain of command, the kid needs to go to the coach first. They need to be a big girl or a big guy. They need to go talk to their coach. Say, hey coach, what's going on? Why am I not playing? Or, why did whatever. Why did you take me out 5 minutes to go in the game? Or something. That's the first line of communication that should always happen. And then after that, if nothing is solved by then as parents, you guys definitely need to get involved. And it needs to become parents, coach, and player. All in the same room, all trying to hash it out. And hopefully that resolves it. And I would say 80 to 90% of the time, usually it does. And then if that doesn't help or that doesn't work, then that's the time where I need to get involved. But there's no reason to come complaining to me about a coach. I mean, I can see from the outside in, and I do try to and you can ask our coaches, I come to practice, but I'm not in the locker room. I'm not there every day. I can't be on the football field and in the gym at the same time watching practice. So my knowledge about what's going on is going to be very limited compared to the coach. So that is the chain of command that I would like to see us kind of go with in terms of when we have issues or we need parent and coach and athlete communication. And, there are times where that's going to happen, and it's important that, both the parents and the coach have a clear understanding of where each other's coming from, and, when these are necessary. The way I would like to see us do this, I just ask that you make contact with the coach first. When you have your team parent meeting, if your coach doesn't give you their contact information, you need to let me know. Because they should. That's their job. But if you call me and want to complain about a coach, the first question I'm going to ask you is, have you talked to the coach? Because if you haven't talked to the coach, I'm probably not going to talk. Because chances are, I know nothing about it. Chances are, I'm totally in the blue and just kind of guessing in my mind of what's going on. So that's why that needs to happen. And I get it, everybody wants to go higher up and they want to talk to the AD, the principal, sometimes the superintendent, sometimes the school board. But I know for a fact that in all those positions, and speaking with all of them, everyone wants our community to follow the chain of command that I've presented tonight. School board members have enough to deal with than hearing about or having an upset parent come to them and complaining about a coach. Not that they're not interested or not that they're not going to do anything, not that they don't care, but they want the proper chain of command followed. And I don't blame them. I just don't. So that's kind of our philosophy on all of that. So if that happens, make sure you call the school or the coach first, set up an appointment. If you cannot reach the coach, that's when you need to contact me. I will get a hold of the coach and I will set it up. If none of that works, then you call me. If you meet with the coach and you don't get any resolution, that's when you call me. and that's when I get the coach and you guys in at the same time, and we try to hash it out and hopefully come up with it. And, you know, you leave the rest of it up to me. So, hopefully we've got a clear understanding of what, as an administration, we want this to look like. You know, this just says, you know, any kid that participates in extracurricular activities, research shows has a better chance of success later in life. Doesn't matter if they were a 25-point-a-game scorer, or a 4,000-yard passer or rusher. If they were a part of a team, and they had to make sacrifices, and they had to learn about time management, and they had to learn about how to get along with others, and they had to learn about dealing sometimes with people they don't like. All those things, you know, they had to learn about being on time, following rules. All those things are traits they've got to have 20 years from now when they're working. And you think about that. So, you know, that's not exactly the most fun stuff to talk about, but let's all make sure we understand really what high school sports is about, and, you know, what that entails, and the things that are important for our kids. You know, I'm not going to lie, I've got young kids. I want my kid to be the best he can be. And if he's not, probably going to be a tough life for him for 4 years when he gets up there. Joking. But at the same time, I want my kid to be a man. I want my kid to learn to be a man when he's in high school. And that's, to me, that's more important. And so, you know, that's kind of our stance on all of that. Last big thing, and then maybe the most important thing of the night. Athletic schedules and communication. There's all kinds of places you can get athletic schedules of ours. I've been told that our website does not have the current schedules. We are working on that. We looked into that today. But they should always be on the school website under the athletics tab. There should be that sports season schedules. Now the issue with that is those aren't live. So I give those to Mrs. Kreitz, and those are what I give her in July. So if Covington calls me tomorrow, or like we've been discussing today, got a bunch of schools around here that have a bunch of freshman volleyball players. We're all trying to add games, add some freshman/C volleyball games. Those aren't on the original volleyball schedule. They're not. So there's some things that are not set in stone. So the website's great to get a schedule 2 months in advance to kind of pre-plan, but that's not always the best place to get schedules in terms of what's most up to date. Same kind of thing with pocket schedules, and hopefully everybody got one tonight. I think we probably ran out, I'm guessing. I am getting more. We'll have more next 2 Fridays from now when we host our first home event. We'll have posters here. I expect to see those any day. We'll have those out at the first home football game. We should have those for each sports season. Max Preps is another place that should have all of our schedules. All of our coaches have been instructed. The IHSA wants us to use Max Preps. That's where they get their information. So all of our coaches have been instructed that they need to learn how to use Max Preps. And at the very least, get their rosters on Max Preps, and get their schedules on Max Preps and their results. You know, I put stats on there personally because that's the only way our guys can get state recognition. Some coaches don't like putting stats on there because they feel like that's a detriment to their strategy, and they feel like the other team has an advantage because they get to see, you know, that Timmy's a 25% free throw shooter. I don't believe in that because I watch enough film. I don't need to look at a stat sheet to know who can shoot and who can't. But that's another place. Twitter's maybe not always the best place for schedules, but the way I have my kind of stuff set up, when we have an event, an automatic tweet kind of goes out. I don't tweet it, but it automatically goes out overnight saying such and such the next day. And if the big thing with Twitter, if you've ever, those of you that are on Twitter and follow me, if I'm in a game, I'm going to keep you updated on the game. So if you can't get somewhere, I'm not saying every game because I can't be at every place at every time, but like next Friday when we scrimmage at Cascade football, I will be there. I will be on Twitter, I'll give updates. So that's always a great way. If our games aren't on the radio, if you get on Twitter, you can always kind of follow the action with me. And, you know, from time to time, I'll send some information out on Twitter. I try not to use it as the main form of communication. You've all got some information on your tables. It was on the front table. This is the best way to get athletic schedules. It's called EventLink. And basically what EventLink is the scheduling software that myself and most, probably 90% of the other athletic directors in the state use. It's how we generate our contracts for games. It's where we hire our officials. But the beauty of EventLink is is live, and this is why I wanted to really hash this out tonight. EventLink notifies you in live time. So like let's say 2 weeks from now we've got a home tennis match, and you know, I personally don't like calling off games because once you call them off it's a bigger pain to reschedule. So I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait. But let's say we've waited, and then all of a sudden it gets to be 2:50, and we get out of school here in 15 minutes, and a downpour hits. Well, that probably did the tennis match in. It's hard to get the word out at 2:50 to everyone. But if you're on EventLink, and if you download the app, and then follow the steps and get your sports calendars that you want. If you're on EventLink, the second I cancel that game, you're going to get notified. You're going to get notified by email. You're going to get notified by text message. And even the better thing is, when I reschedule it and I put it back in, because the way that works, if we cancel a game and I'll go back in and I'll re-plug it in. When I do that, you're going to get notified. And you're now all of a sudden going to know before anyone else when that game has been rescheduled for. So, to me, it's new technology and all that, but we are 2019, 2020. We've got to go this way. It's the best way for you guys to follow our schedules and what's going on in live time. Because everything is 100% right on there. There's nothing wrong on there. It can't be, because that is again, that's the contracts that are sent. That is the holy grail as it comes to schedules. And the second something gets changed, so if you're a football parent and you download that app and you get the football calendar and the football schedules, the second we change a JV game because Attica doesn't have a JV, you know. And now you know who we play. And now you know when we've rescheduled. And to me, it's just so important and crucial for me to get information out to you guys. The best way is that. Obviously we can do the old-fashioned stuff and Facebook it and tweet it and sometimes even make phone calls and things like that, but it's not any easier or more convenient for everyone than this. And those information sheets basically give you, it's simple. It's really simple, step by step. And if you've got any questions, you can call them. I talked to them on the phone the other day. I almost had them come, but I didn't want some long presentation. But they even said, extra long presentation. But they even said, they don't need to call you. They need to call us. So they're willing to take everyone's phone calls if you're having trouble. And try to, all you got to tell them is what school you want, and they can look us up, and they can get you hooked up and in line with everything that you need. So hopefully that helps for this year. Some schools are even requiring their coaches to put their practice schedules on EventLink. I'm not there yet. I'm not doing that yet, but I'm not going to lie. That's probably pretty close to happening because it's really easy for the parents. To me, the easier I make it for the parents and for you guys to know and get information to, the better. So that is my spiel on communication and schedules, and hopefully you guys take that to heart and kind of look into that and everything like that. New thing this year, I'm just going to very briefly talk about this. We're just now starting this. We haven't actually even formed the council yet, but we are going to create what I call a wolf pack. And very uncreatively, the wolf pack, the PAC stands for Park Heritage Athlete Council. This is going to be a council that is going to have 2 to 3 athletes from all of our athletic teams. So we have like 15 athletic teams. So it's going to be 30 to 35, 40 kids. And it's going to be kids that are juniors and under. And they're going to be nominated by their coach. And then when I get all the nominations from all the sports, we're going to all vote. And the top vote getters, the top 30 or 35, whatever number we set, just making sure that each team has 2 representatives, they're going to be on our wolf pack. And basically what the wolf pack is, it's going to be like our athletic, whatever you want to call it, athletic ambassadors. They're going to be kind of our peer leaders. And what we're going to do is, unfortunately for them, I'm going to meet with them once or twice a month before school one day, and we're going to talk leadership. We're going to talk character. We're going to talk community service. We're going to talk teamwork. I might bring some people in to talk about that. It's just something I want to do to help our kids become better leaders, and just hopefully evolve as young adults. So that's kind of a neat thing and something I'm really looking forward to get started this year. And that is basically it, other than giving some more stuff away. So Stephen, one more time. We got one set of stuff to give away.
$289.
$289 for a license plate, sticker, and lanyard. Next one, Stephen.
$272.
$272. All right, last big prize of the night. Who's the lucky winner, Stephen?
$250.
$215. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Again, with these sports passes, bring them into me one day. It's got my signature on it or my initials. All you got to do is hand it to me. I'll fill out your cards. The passes are all yours. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming. Everybody did sign in when you got here, right? That's kind of the whole point of signing in, to make sure your kid's accounted for. This is all of my contact information. I know this is a little bit long. We'll get it going faster as the years go by. But hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you got something out of it. We're excited about this year. I think we've got some teams that are really going to have a lot of success, and I think it's going to be really exciting. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you later.